Okay, building an intervention plan. So things that I put on an intervention plan, again, I'm mostly talking here about higher functioning kids. An intervention plan for a higher functioning kid, big one, okay, somebody got a great idea a couple of years for third graders, we're gonna have them start moving around in classrooms. Bad idea, okay, especially for kids on the spectrum, because transitioning, not good at all. The less you can have these kids move around during the day, the better. Transitions, they take longer to transition and they don't do it well. If you're gonna have them transition, so for example, the beginning of the school year, these are the kids where I have their parents take them when other kids aren't around, meet their teacher, if they haven't already met the teacher, if they're in the new teacher, they walk through the classroom, they see everything, they sort of get an advanced preview, and you start talking them through. And I even have given older kids, like 8 or 9, their executive schedule. I call it the executive schedule, and I talk about where they're gonna be at certain times of the day, and they have a person to check in with throughout the day to be able to transition with. Routine. Restricted and repetitive behaviors. So this is the kid who's in math class who doesn't want to leave math class and go to gym class. Most of these kids hate gym class because they're clumsy, they're awkward, and they don't play well. Gym class is the bane of most kids with poor social skills existence, right? So, you know, they don't want to leave. So you've got to be able to sort of look at the school day and develop other routines with them or other ideas for sort of coming up with routines. Executive function issues, color coding notebooks, all those sorts of interventions, these are the kids those are perfect for. A color coding system with files. These are the kids whose backpacks are stuffed full with papers. So every day, this is the place, if you get a paper from your teacher, you put it here. This is the place in the kitchen. Parents have to be really organized with these kids. When you get a paper, you bring it home to me and you put it in this tray. Anything from school. And parents have to check the backpack every night. Find out what's in there. Make sure there aren't small animals there.
Colored folders would be wonderful.
Colored folders are wonderful. Yeah.
Plastic.
Yeah, colored plastic folders, colored markers, all of that stuff. Color coding is, these kids do great. I actually saw the other day that Granimals are back. I was so happy. Does everybody know what Granimals are? Yeah. Granimals are back. What are Granimals? Yeah.
Matching tags.
The matching tags, so it teaches kids to dress on their own, so they don't have to think about it. So they match the different animals with animals, which is really great. So for these kids, I just thought, wow, Granimals are back. That's a great thing. So it takes out any type, I mean, we're all smiling, and I don't want to make light of it. Anything, especially as they get older, where they can develop some sense of autonomy, and you can figure out a way to mechanize it for them, or give them a route to get around their social and their visual spatial deficit, that's where they gain autonomy. And it's, you know, am I going to spend a lot of time teaching this kid how to dress? Probably not. I mean, they're probably still going to need help with buttons because of the motor issues, but a lot of these kids, sort of giving them a roadmap like the Granimals, love it. And I've even had parents, I had a mom that I worked with back on the East Coast who developed her own little Granimal type system on clothes so he could dress himself. Really, really involved mom. Stress. You know, this one, I love the parental stress index. Kids stress, this one I should have said, it's not, this one isn't just for the kids, this is parents. Interestingly enough, the most recent study actually didn't find higher rates of divorce in parents of kids with autism. It was thought for a long time that that was true. I've seen conflicting data on it, but the most recent study is that it's not. But the stress, the financial impact alone, go back to what that dollar amount was, and if you don't have good insurance and you can't find good interventions, which is the bane, I think, of most of the parents, is that they can't find good interventions. I mean, you all have said to me, adolescent social groups, there are none. And so parents are get really stressed trying to take these kids just to their appointments. If both parents are working outside the home, very, very stressful. So trying to treat that directly. Obsessive type behaviors, this becomes a real issue. Are they pickers, or are there kids who are doing other things that are so obsessive that that's what interferes. So you might want to think about doing some of the manualized interventions that work for kids with OCD and trying to desensitize and get them to not, or to reduce some of those obsessive behaviors. I think, again, this is the Bonnie Forrest cocktail theory, stereotype behaviors are really more about self-stimulating when kids don't have language. When you don't have the currency of language, I tend to see more stereotypical behaviors in little kids, and I think it's because, you know, it's the only thing in the world they seek some sort of arousal and stimulation, and so self-stimulating behaviors becomes a mechanism to do that if you can't talk. And so trying to work with these as they get older, very important. Always at school have a safe place, safe person for the kids to go to. If they're having a tough day, if they're getting ready to melt down, if you do nothing else, if you can give them, say, go see if you're feeling upset. And again, working with a feelings thermometer. You guys all have done that, I'm sure. Creative Play Therapy Store out of WPS, great feeling thermometers. If you start to feel stressed, if you start to feel anxious, if you're in a social situation, you don't know what to do, Mrs. or Mr. so-and-so will always be there to answer questions. As kids get older, I tend to give them my cell phone and they text me. Text me a lot. I can think of one kid, oh, it's heartbreaking, 14-year-old, one of the few kids where I violated the rule. There was language delay because his parents raised him bilingually. So both languages, as are typical with kids, were bilanguage. Both languages were slightly delayed. Italian. He was adopted. This kid, he's on the bus one day and somebody puts gum in his hair. And so I said, Dr. Forrest, what do I do? Somebody put gum in my hair. And I knew we were making strides in treatment when he said, it makes me sad. Why would somebody put gum in my hair? And I just thought to myself, oy, I've taught him to understand how to be sad. Maybe that wasn't, you know, and I say this tongue in cheek, it was a good thing, but oh no, now he's really becoming aware that he's different and that other kids are doing stuff to him. And so he said, what should I do? So he's sitting on a bus texting me as I can see the bus. You know, I just have this vision of the bus going down the street.
Because when he gets older, he won't be preyed upon as easily if he can set boundaries, that is not okay. It doesn't matter why.
Yeah.
That is not okay behavior, and you're not to do that to me.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a breakthrough in the treatment that he was able to recognize that the thing that was so heartbreaking is that he was able to recognize it. Mm-hmm. So, sadly. Yeah.
I have a question along the same lines. You have children who are high functioning, and they have these social deficits, and they start to recognize that they're not invited to birthday parties, and it just breaks your heart. It's hard to help them manage that because it's very real. It is sad. It is, you know, and then working with the parent too to how to, you know, improve social relations and increase opportunities for social success. But it's just, I don't know. Do you have any ideas about working with that?
Well, first of all, as a step-parent and grandparent and aunt, and first of all, I never have birthday parties where I don't invite everybody. And if I can't invite everybody, I don't have them. I just think it's really important to find like-minded parents. And I'm finding this more and more. There's been so much advertised about bullying lately that people are finally starting to get bullying. There still isn't enough done, but you'll find like-minded parents. So tell a parent to go in and find 4 or 5 like-minded parents. And, you know, I tell parents that they're going to be, and this is hard, especially for some moms who are working outside the home. You're going to have to be the one to have play dates at your house. You invite kids over, you invite 2 or 3 kids over. Now, as you get into adolescence, you can't force kids, but you can usually find 2 or 3 other kids who also have issues, or you'll find 2 or 3 smarter kids who absolutely get it and want to sort of do this stuff. You know, and so I find that if they can connect to 2 or 3 other parents and form their own play group and their own group that sort of has activities, and the parents are willing to have the kids at their home and supervise it, that's what works best. In terms of the isolation and sadness, you start dealing like other kids who have social issues. Tell me how it makes you feel. And a lot of times they can't tell you, but like the example I gave you, we got to a point, well, I can't feel sad, but tell me, when you look at this, he hadn't labeled it as sad when we first started working together, but we would work with faces, and we'd work with you feel emotions first here in your body. You know, I think of vulnerability or shame in your body. Those are two that are really hard to get kids with on the spectrum to understand. Shame especially, and I think it's such a common emotion. When we open our hearts out there and maybe it's not accepted for who we are, it's immediately shaming from the time we come into life. That's a physical sensation before you use the word shame. Same thing with vulnerability. So I start with the physical and then help kids attach a label over time. Then I start to talk about what might make you feel better and really go to a cognitive. These kids do well with cognitive-based interventions a lot of times. Happy thought. What else could you think about? What do you enjoy? What's an alternative you could do in the moment? Something you could think about that would give you happiness. I've made relaxation tapes with these kids and positive talk tapes with these kids. I've also had them list sayings. We do an exercise in my office where they generate positive sayings, and they put that up in their room, or they put it in their backpack, that if they're having a tough day, they pull that out. My list I did with Dr. Bonnie, and I'm able to look at that list. And that sometimes works with those kids. So those are all intervention ideas that I use. Anybody else have anything along that line that they've tried that works? Okay. Social issues, again, in part of a group, you really have to start, and we're going to talk about IEPs in a bit, but breaking this down and teaching it like you would a foreign language and helping parents understand that is the key, in my estimation. Charades, a great game for families to play. For kids who have these issues, charades is really great because you start to see in a safe environment some of the deficits that these kids have.